Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you all are doing well. I wanted to make this video to share my recollections with you all about the times I have visited the Arkansas Governor's Mansion. The Arkansas Governor's Mansion dates back to 1950. It was actually between 1947 and 1950 when the Governor's Mansion in Arkansas was built. The need was recognized in the early 1940s for a Governor's Mansion in Arkansas, and 1950 was whenever Arkansas finally obtained a Governor's Mansion. 13 governors have lived in the Arkansas Governor's Mansion over the last 75 years, including President Bill Clinton, Governor Orville Faubus, Governors Jim Guy Tucker, Dale Bumpers, David Pryor, Frank White, who was governor between President Clinton's first and the rest of the terms he served as governor before he went to the White House, as well as now currently Ambassador to Israel for the United States, Mike Huckabee, Governor Mike Beebe, Governor Asa Hutchinson, Governor Jim Guy Tucker, now currently Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders, have been the different governors that have lived in the Governor's Mansion. Governor Rockefeller also lived there. He was governor after Faubus. There were a couple of governors before Faubus who lived in the mansion. The Governor's Mansion is built with the bricks from the Arkansas School for the Blind. It was located at 1800 Center Street for decades whenever it moved to Little Rock from Arkadelphia. The blind school started in 1859 in Arkadelphia, where Ouachita Baptist College is located now, and the school was closed down during the American Civil War, but during the Reconstruction period following the American Civil War, the blind school moved to Little Rock, and the school moved to its current location at 2600 West Markham Street in 1939. And it was the main building for the blind school. Now was a WPA project during the Great Depression. A couple of the other buildings on the campus were in addition to the main building. The Arkansas Governor's Mansion bricks make up the bricks of the old blind school are what make up the Governor's Mansion now. And it's really neat how the blind school's history is intertwined with the history of the Arkansas Governor's Mansion. The Arkansas Governor's Mansion has seen a lot of history, as I've mentioned, with the different administrations. My first time I ever visited the mansion was in 2011. I was 18 years old at the time, and I was in a work program called Jumpstart. It is a program that is ran through the Division of Services for the Blind. It's a part of the rehab services that the different states in the United States have to help out people who are blind, students, the people who benefit from the Jumpstart program. It is between the ages of 16 to 21, and it is where the students will work for part of the day, and then they will have other activities for the other part of the day. However, on this particular day in 2011, when I was in Jumpstart, we went over to the Arkansas governor's mansion. This was when Governor Mike Beebe was in office. He and his wife, First Lady Ginger Beebe, they were in office from 2007 until 2015. And they were welcoming us to tour the herb garden that day. We actually were listening to an audio tour, which they were just starting out at the time, for the herb garden that's located on the manor grounds. It was a really great tour, and First Lady Beebe was there to show us around, as well as some of the staff there on the grounds. So we saw some of the state troopers who guard the governor and the governor's family and who protect the governor's mansion. And after visiting the garden on the manor grounds, we went into the Grand Hall, which was actually added on during Governor Huckabee's time in office. And we had refreshments there. I remember we had lemonade and we had cookies and brownies that day. And the plan was, we were visiting with First Lady Beebe, and we were surprised because we did not realize that Governor Mike Beebe was going to come in that day. He was at the Capitol taking care of business, and he stopped by and he met with us. I was able to get my photo taken with him and First Lady Beebe, and it really amazed me, their kindness. They really made sure that we understood that the governor's mansion belongs to all of us, because our tax dollars help to keep the governor's mansion going. Same with the White House in Washington, D.C. And what was really neat was First Lady Beebe was very impressed with all the questions I was asking her, because of my love of history and politics, that we were actually able to get a tour of the governor's mansion. And on the governor's mansion tour, they show you around on the first floor of the mansion. There is an upstairs as well as a basement. However, to go upstairs, you have to be a member of the governor's family or a friend, be invited by the governor to go up there. And so I've never been to that part of the mansion. I've never been in the basement. However, it was really neat seeing like the formal dining room, seeing the grand, like whenever you go into the front doors of the mansion, seeing the formal living room, seeing what was at the time the library, where they actually had the portrait of when the School for the Blind was located over there. They have it at another spot now in the mansion. But it was really great, their hospitality. And my grandmother, my paternal grandmother, had just died the day before. And so it was really nice whenever I told First Lady Beebe about that. Her and Governor Beebe gave my family and I their condolences. And so it was really neat to be able to tell my family that Governor Beebe and First Lady Beebe send their condolences to us during our time with my grandmother's passing. But that was a wonderful experience, and it would be several years before I would make it back over to the governor's mansion. I did not actually get back over to the governor's mansion until last year around Christmas time. I had seen on Eventbrite, which I'm a volunteer at the Clinton Library, and we have like some of our events and all. We have like for people to get their passes and all. You go through Eventbrite to get your passes, and I'd seen advertised Christmas open house at the governor's mansion, and it's like, well, I've always wanted to go over there at Christmas time and to get back over to the governor's mansion, be hey, it'd be cool to meet Governor Sanders and meet the current governor if I could. But I RSVP'd, and to do that, it wasn't too hard at all. You just give your basic information, and it's not as tedious like whenever you go to see about getting a White House tour in DC. Now, I did talk about that on in a separate video here on my channel, and how all the hoops you have to jump through to get a White House tour. However, the governor's mansion, you do have to give the number on your identification, and that's pretty much all you do. And when you get over there, I know whenever I went over there last year, I was dropped off by a couple of my friends in Toastmasters after we had had lunch that day, and I went through the checkpoint. The state police who guard the mansion, they led me through the checkpoint at the main gate and went on through the main entrance. And it's really neat last year, getting to walk around the rooms of the mansion, and they had refreshments, cookies and punch and candy. And it's really neat getting to see how Governor Sanders and her family had the mansion designed, and visiting with people. However, the time that I had this year was even greater than last year. While I enjoyed my time last year, it's like, I'm going to make this an annual tradition for myself for Christmas. I know I made a short a couple of days ago asking about Christmas traditions for people, and so I figured I'd do that again. I seen where it's advertised again for the Christmas open house, and I went over there yesterday, and I got there as right before the event was to begin, and so the gate was shut and all. But myself and some of the other guests, we lined up there at the main gate because they do have the gate shut, and they have a voice box there, and they have cameras where you would you could talk to the state troopers and all through that voice box. However, they came whenever it's time for the open house to begin, and they looked at our IDs to make sure, we were who we said we were, and, we all went inside. And it's really nice this year, especially since the governor's mansion is celebrating its 75th anniversary this year, which they just had a anniversary celebration for the governor's mansion a few weeks ago, where all of the former governors that are still living and some of the family members for the other governors who have passed on were there. But it was a major event. President Clinton and Secretary Clinton were there. Governor Beebe and his wife were there. Ambassador Huckabee and his wife were there. Governor Sanders and her husband, of course, were there. And also Governor Hutchison and his wife were there. Over the past couple of years, Governors Tucker and Pryor have passed away. However, the event was pretty great. Just all the information I seen on the news the other day whenever it took place. But right now, they put in a new rug whenever you go into the mansion through the main entrance, commemorating the 75th anniversary of the governor's mansion. They have a lot of great decorations this year for Christmas at the mansion. The room that was the library when Governor Beebe was in office is now like a family living room, like private living room for the family. They had it open, but they had it like roped off so you couldn't go in there, but you could still look in. They had a lot of beautiful paintings around the governor's mansion, like different scenes and all around Arkansas. And the formal dining room, it's to the right whenever you go into the mansion. and they have their private kitchen, but as well, the staircase that goes upstairs and down to the basement, it's a spiral staircase. That's pretty cool. And then when you go through, there's doors that lead you in like to the atrium area, and they have a bunch of Christmas trees all around there, and it all leads you to the grand hall where they had all the refreshments for the party yesterday. They had some different candies such as M&Ms, Twizzlers, peppermints, candy canes. They even had Christmas ornaments for sale. One was like the chandelier that they have in the grand hall, and the other two, one of them was like from the family's like tea set that they have there for the dishes that they have right now, and the other ornament is of the Arkansas governor's mansion. They're actually made by the same people who make a lot of the ornaments for the White House, so that's really awesome. But I did see some people I'd seen last year, and I even ran to a friend of mine who was helping to serve the refreshments, and so that was really cool. And they had like gingerbread cookies, chocolate chip cookies, blueberry scones, and they had coffee, punch, they had donuts. And I sampled a little bit of everything, and it was really great getting to visit with different people who were there. And they had a photo booth set up where people get their pictures made. And they had a really great area dedicated to the 75th anniversary of the governor's mansion, like the photos of all the different governors who've lived in the mansion. And they have really fixed up the place a lot over, even just in the past year since I've been over there. And just wonderful memories of going over there. The state troopers, I really appreciate their service, and everybody helping me with getting from point A to point B over there, especially making sure I was able to get safely out of there, to catch my Uber, which after I left the governor's mansion, I went to the Purse Museum yesterday, which I talked about in a short that I did this morning. But, if you ever get the opportunity to visit the Arkansas governor's mansion, it really is quite the treat. You do have to make reservations to be able to tour the mansion, and it is very nice if you ever get the opportunity to go over there. Definitely take advantage of that opportunity. But it's always neat to be able to go over there and see different people and get to really see different pieces of Arkansas history, and getting to see what all you can learn, and being able to celebrate different holidays with different traditions. So I hope all of you have enjoyed this video. I know there's not too many videos on YouTube about the governor's mansion here in Arkansas, but I do want to say a special thanks to all of those at the Arkansas governor's mansion who helped me out over the years of my 3 times of going over. And I do want to give a special shout out to Governor Beebe and his family. I hope hope you guys are enjoying your retirement. And Governor Sanders, appreciate you and your family, and Ambassador Huckabee, y'all's service to our state and nation. And also to President and Secretary Clinton, who I have met both of them as well. While I have not met them at the governor's mansion, I have met them at the Clinton Presidential Center, which I've been honored and privileged with being a volunteer over there since 2017. So hope you all have a blessed day. And it's great being able to come on here and share some of my recollections with you all. And I tell some people, go on record here, I like to call the governor's mansion and the White House my future houses. So, if it's the Lord's will that I become governor or president one day, then, it'll happen. That's the way I look at it. But Y'all take care and have a good day, y'all. And Merry Christmas.